Welcome to the channel. Today we will discuss South Korea in 2025. South Korea's economy in 2025 presents a complex portrait of resilience amid mounting challenges. The economy was worth 2.61 quadrillion won, or $1.87 trillion. It has the fourth largest economy in Asia and the 13th largest in the world as of 2025. However, beneath these impressive rankings lies a more nuanced story of economic headwinds and strategic pivots that define the nation's current economic landscape. The year 2025 has proven challenging for South Korean economic growth. The gross domestic product, GDP, in South Korea contracted 0.20% in the first quarter of 2025 over the previous quarter. This contraction represents the first quarterly decline in 4 years, signaling significant economic pressure. The Bank of Korea has revised its growth projections downward, with South Korea's GDP growth for 2025 is expected to fall below its February forecast of 1.5%. The International Monetary Fund has similarly tempered expectations, projecting 2025 real GDP growth of 1%, reflecting the broader challenges facing the South Korean economy. The slowdown has been driven by multiple factors, including weak domestic consumption and a struggling construction sector. The country's economy expanded by 1.2% year-on-year, missing analysts' expectations of 1.4% growth. This underperformance highlights the persistent challenges in stimulating domestic demand and the ripple effects of global economic uncertainty on South Korea's export-dependent economy. Recognizing the economic headwinds, the South Korean government has adopted an expansionary fiscal stance. Following the finalization of the supplementary budget, the 2025 operational fiscal deficit has been revised upward to 3.3% of GDP. This significant deficit reflects the government's commitment to supporting economic activity through increased spending, though it also raises concerns about long-term fiscal sustainability as tax revenues weaken, alongside slowing economic growth. The government's approach represents a delicate balancing act between providing necessary economic stimulus and maintaining fiscal discipline. The larger deficit indicates policymakers' recognition that extraordinary measures are needed to navigate the current economic downturn while positioning the economy for future recovery. Despite broader economic challenges, South Korea's semiconductor industry continues to serve as a crucial economic pillar and source of optimism. South Korean exports of semiconductors, the country's top export item, increased 43.9% on-year to reach a record $141.9 billion, leading the country's overall export growth. This remarkable performance underscores the sector's strategic importance to the national economy. The global dynamics in the semiconductor market have created both opportunities and challenges for South Korean companies. As of Q1 2025, SK Hynix led the global DRAM market with a 36% share, surpassing Samsung's 34% for the first time. This shift in market leadership highlights the intense competition within the industry and the continued innovation driving South Korean semiconductor companies. Recognizing the sector's critical importance, the government has significantly increased its support. South Korea announced an increase in its support package for the country's vital semiconductor industry to 33 trillion won, or $23.25 billion, up about a quarter from a 26 trillion won package unveiled last year. This substantial investment reflects the government's commitment to maintaining South Korea's competitive edge in this crucial industry, amid growing global competition and geopolitical tensions. South Korea's economy faces significant headwinds from escalating geopolitical tensions, particularly between the United States and China. South Korea's semiconductor exports to China plunged last month, deepening concerns about a cooling in global demand already threatened by U.S. tariffs as Washington steps up its restrictions on technology supplies to Beijing. These trade restrictions have created substantial uncertainty for South Korean exporters, who have historically relied heavily on Chinese markets. The situation has been further complicated by potential U.S. tariff policies under the new administration. South Korea's exports were unexpectedly resilient in April, buoyed by strong demand for semiconductors despite the drag from U.S. tariffs, although there are signs that global trade tensions have started to impact its key auto sector. While semiconductor exports have shown resilience, other sectors are beginning to feel the pressure from changing trade dynamics. The semiconductor industry's continued strength reflects broader trends in global technology demand. Chip sales are set to soar in 2025, led by generative AI and data center buildouts, even as demand from PC and mobile markets may remain muted. This technological shift presents both opportunities and challenges for South Korean manufacturers, who must adapt to evolving demand patterns while maintaining their competitive advantages. Investment in semiconductor manufacturing equipment remains robust across East Asia. Semiconductor manufacturers will spend a record $400 billion on computer chip-making equipment in 2025 to 2027, Global Industry Association SEMI, with China, South Korea, and Taiwan leading the way. This massive investment cycle indicates the strategic importance all major economies place on semiconductor capabilities, and suggests continued growth potential for South Korean suppliers and manufacturers. South Korea's economic challenges in 2025 reflect both cyclical downturns and structural issues that require long-term attention. The construction sector's weakness has been particularly notable, contributing significantly to the overall economic slowdown. Weak domestic consumption also continues to hamper growth, suggesting that despite South Korea's export success in key sectors, internal demand remains insufficient to drive robust economic expansion. The country's heavy reliance on exports makes it particularly vulnerable to global economic fluctuations and trade tensions. While this export orientation has historically been a source of strength, enabling rapid economic development, it also creates vulnerabilities when global trade patterns shift or when geopolitical tensions disrupt established trade relationships. As South Korea navigates 2025, its economic trajectory will largely depend on several key factors. The semiconductor industry's continued performance will be crucial, particularly as global demand patterns evolve with the growth of artificial intelligence and data center infrastructure. The government's fiscal support measures may provide short-term relief, but sustainable growth will require addressing underlying structural challenges in domestic consumption and economic diversification. The resolution of trade tensions, particularly between the United States and China, will significantly impact South Korea's economic prospects. As a key player in global supply chains, South Korea's economy remains sensitive to changes in international trade relationships and technological cooperation agreements. South Korea's economy in 2025 thus presents a study in contrasts, a world-leading semiconductor industry driving export growth alongside broader economic challenges that require careful policy navigation. The nation's ability to leverage its technological strengths while addressing structural economic weaknesses will determine its economic trajectory in the coming years. With substantial government investment in key industries and a continued focus on technological innovation, South Korea appears positioned to weather current challenges while building foundations for future growth, though success will depend on both domestic policy effectiveness and favorable international economic conditions. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.